Hi everyone. I'm really, really nervous, so please bear with me. I don't normally do this. So there are a million topics I could talk about tonight, but I think one really stood out for me was cultural identity, and how I lost mine and how I found it all over again. So this is just a bit of a personal journey. So I grew up in Cape Town, South Africa, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and I had a wonderful childhood. So idyllic, my parents are wonderful, amazing school, incredible friends. And then at 15, they announced that we were moving to New Zealand, like Candace. And I was super excited. It was going to be a big adventure, new friends, another beautiful city. So we moved to New Zealand. But it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies when I moved. It was actually quite a tough time. So this isn't anything to do with Kiwis, because Kiwis are amazing. I actually moved to a school which had a really bad bullying problem at the time. It could happen anywhere. But because I had a South African accent, and 17 years ago, people didn't really hear the South African accent a lot. And let's be fair, it's not like the French accent, or, it's not sexy. So I was 15, awkward teenager. I was different, and I was an easy target. So I was really bullied because, and I thought it was because I was South African. So very quickly I lost my accent. Very quickly I just stopped doing stuff I loved. I stopped music, I stopped art, I stopped anything that made me noticeable, anything that made me a target. And with that, I lost my cultural identity, and I lost my self-identity. So you can imagine at 17 years old, just not knowing who you are. It's hard enough being a teenager. So at 16, I dropped out of school, and I hated life. Life was hard. Things got better after that, but it still took a good, 10 years to just find myself again. I went from one career to another, one friendship group to another, one hobby to another, and eventually I went, you know what, I'm going to go traveling. So I went all around the world, and I eventually ended up in Morocco, North Africa, in this dusty little surf town called Tagazu, and it was the best thing I could have ever done. Even though it's on the other side of Africa, it felt like I was home. There was music in the streets again. There was the hum of that dusty African town, and I just loved it. There's just something about Africa that you can't get over. I don't know if anyone's been to Africa around here, but there's something in the air. It's just, I can't even describe it. So I spent close to 2 months there just renewing myself. I was, 27. And then it was time to come back to Auckland. And I came back with a renewed sense of purpose, renewed sense of self, and confidence. I was like, you know what? I'm South African. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. This is who I am. So when I came back, it was around 10 years after I first moved here. And Auckland's changed, man. It's so diverse. It's amazing. Everyone just wants to get to know who you are. And I knew who I was. My cultural identity was back. My self-identity was back. So it was awesome. And I know there's a few entrepreneurs around here, so if anyone's never been through a self-identity crisis or cultural identity, you can kind of correlate it with when you start a business, brand identity is like number one, right? For starting a successful business. So imagine as a person not having that. So now I'm back, and I'm me, I'm South African. So today, I'm happy to say I work successfully in the arts and creative industry, and I now often refer to South Africa's vibrant, colourful culture in my styling and artwork. And yeah, I think, like I said before, it's great being in Auckland because it's so diverse. So anyway, what's the point of the story, Leigh, you might be asking? getting to know people here tonight and the general vibe, I know everyone here, I don't think anyone is racist or xenophobic or has it in their heart to be like that, but I'm also hoping with the camera this message gets out. But there are everyday things that I do, and I think all of us do, that really do shake immigrants' cultural identity. So I've made a quick little list, and like I said, I'm guilty of this, so just, I think a number one thing for me that I notice is don't mock or imitate people's accents. That's a really common thing I think a lot of people do. Even if you're really friendly with them, most often than not, they'll laugh it off, but it's actually really uncomfortable. And if anyone does that, I go, hey, that's not your accent to make fun of, it's mine. In saying that, I do sometimes dare someone to take on the South African accent. But you know what? That's me inviting them in, so go for it. Another thing is that has happened to me a lot is you're a Kiwi now, but this is New Zealand. You're a New Zealander now. I remember when I worked in magazines a few years back, a colleague said to me, when are you going to stop telling people you're South African? And I was actually really deeply hurt. Like, she was taking a real dig. And you know what? Never. I'm South African. It's in my blood. And I'm super proud. And let me just say, I think it's been mentioned tonight, immigrants bring a lot of really cool new ideas. So we need to listen. Don't say, well, that's not the Kiwi way. There's a lot you can learn from, new ways. Lastly, be careful of stereotypes. I think I'm quite bad at this, especially with South Africans. I can often say, oh, South African men can be quite arrogant, but in saying that, my dad, there's a lot of South African men I know who are the most down-to-earth, amazing people. And my dad's just one of them. So, I think Taika Waititi did this great campaign with the Human Rights Commission saying, give nothing to racism. And I think that's a really big thing with stereotyping, Let's stop treating people and cultures as stereotypes and let's just see them as individuals, yeah? Last slide. Next one, sorry. So this is just an African proverb that sat with me for a really long time. I think you can look at it as personal development, but I also see it as the world. So if you're putting stuff out in the world now, imagine what a great, good stuff, imagine what a great place it's going to be in the future. So, so that's all from me. Yay, thank you.